in our very first game, the Hoosiers will love, who we're talking about first. It's Indiana at Purdue. Really looking forward
Wait,
to this
Purdue.
game. What?
Purdue.
Oh, Iowa. Sorry.
Don't-
That's end of the
Listen,
week, end of the year.
Our Iowa fans are already mad at us. Don't offend them further by calling them Purdue.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was not intentional. I apologize. This game's going to be Saturday. It is going to be at this one's what is it? 7:30? No, no. This one is at 3:30, I believe, on Peacock. You have to get the Peacock to watch this one. Indiana currently favored by 7.5 on FanDuel, and over under set at 48.5. And I gotta be honest, Zach, this is kind of a very interesting matchup on the field, but off the field, this is kind of like the fastest rising team in the Big Ten, right? I mean, this is a team that was just last year bottom tier of the Big Ten coming into it. They raised up to about tier two status, nearing tier one, and then now you have a lot of people saying this is a tier one team in the Big Ten. I know I'm saying that. I feel very confident
Yep.
in this team, but I got to be honest, Zach, there is still some people out there doubting this. And I got to be honest, there's a reason why you come to the Big Ten huddle for your Big Ten coverage. Because not everybody covers the Big Ten as well as us. And I'm not trying to toot our own horns, but I've heard a number of quotes this week about these different games. And I just want to share some of them. This one I heard from a show. I won't name the shows because I don't want to disparage them. But the host of the show said, I don't understand why everyone is so high on Indiana. People keep overreacting to just one win. I'm not sure if this person watched football last year or not, but
Do they
there's
watch the
obviously
SEC?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
obviously a lot more going on in Indiana than just one win. So Zach, what are your thoughts? Valid criticism or not?
Oh, it's stupid criticism.
Okay,
Like
good.
not I so I will reference someone though as I think about this matchup in a positive light. And actually I'll probably bring him up a second time as we talk about Illinois as well. Todd McShay, ball knower.
Mm,
I thought he had some good things to say about Indiana, and I appreciated his take, particularly about Indiana's efficiency, because he said one thing he said, and I was like, I want to think about it more. I don't know if I fully agree with him or not, but he mentioned that while the talent level, like as an NFL draft evaluator, may not be at the level of an Ohio State or a Penn State, they really make up for it in efficiency. And what he said at the end of his whole eval of what Indiana did to Illinois was that he would not be shocked if they got Penn State or Oregon this year. So like he's he's a believer in the Hoosiers, but I particularly appreciated his point about the efficiency because I think we saw that a year ago, and I think that's one of Kurt Signetti's trademarks is they're going to beat you by being excellent in their system and their scheme, which gives me a little bit of a concern against Iowa.
mm.
Because one of the things that I think Iowa might have a slight advantage in, or at least a stalemate, is on the lines of scrimmage. And so I know I mentioned last week, I think Indiana's going to go and crush Iowa. But as I thought about it more, I think there is a potential for Indiana to maybe look a little bit more mortal this week, particularly as they go to Kinnick.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting game, right? I mean, there's some similarities to the Ohio State game in this one. And no, I'm not saying that Iowa is Ohio State from last year. Obviously, that's not the case. But what I am saying is that we see some similar stuff to Indiana going to Ohio State, and I think if Indiana comes out with a win in this one, and not just wins, but wins convincingly, that's going to be just one more talking point for why this Indiana team is not who they were last year, and people need to stop overlooking them, right? I mean, this is a road environment that is very good. Kinnick Stadium is a very good stadium. It's a very good home field advantage for Iowa. They've done a great job there. I think the stat I saw was 32 ranked teams have come into Kinnick Stadium, and only like 8 of them the past, I think it's 10 years or something. I'm getting the stat wrong, but the point is that a number of ranked teams have come into Kinnick Stadium, and only 3 of them left with a win. It's incredible what they're able to do and how much Iowa has been able to take down teams who come in very highly favored. And one of those teams was Ohio State in 2017, I believe it was, when they came in and they were able to make it happen. So obviously, I'm not saying that this Iowa team is exactly that team or anything like that, but I am just trying to reference the home field advantage for Iowa and how this is not just an easy game that you can say, oh, Iowa's not been good this season, and so Indiana's going to take care of them. Iowa's a better team than people realize. They're still going to win 7, 8, 9 games at the very least, or at 9 games at the most, 7 games at the very least, and it's still a team that you have to prepare for and be ready for. And the defensive line of this Iowa team is going to give Indiana everything they can handle. Ohio State last year gave them a little bit more than just the defensive line, but still, that offensive line was an issue on the road, and we'll see if Kirk Cinetti and those guys have been able to rectify what happened last year.
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest concern for the Hoosiers. If you're the Hoosiers, right? Because like I thought Illinois' defense is good, right? Like Gabe Yakus, and obviously there's the secondary issues, but like they had good guys in the front 7. Iowa's a little bit of a different animal with Aaron Graves, Max Llewellyn, like really, really good personnel up front. But I do think there is a matchup advantage for the Hoosiers with the receivers. I think Surratt, Cooper, like I think they can win one-on-one battles. I know they'll probably play more zone than man, but I think those are matchups that they will like. So if they can give Mendoza time, or if Mendoza can manipulate the pocket a little bit with his mobility, I still like the Hoosiers to be able to exploit that defense in the passing game. I do wonder how much they will be able to get from the running game because of maybe more of a stalemate up front.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I'm Indiana, obviously you need to have that running game working because what happened even last year with Michigan, right? When you were at home, and that was a home game, when Michigan completely stunted that run game that Indiana had, it really threw them through it. But thankfully, Michigan didn't have much of an offense, and so they weren't able to do anything. And I know Iowa gets labeled for not much of an offense and stuff like that as well, but we need to remember this is a team with a good running game, and Mark Gronowski adds to that running game as well. You look at the stats from his last game, like 186 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. People are going to look at that and be like, okay, he still isn't throwing the ball all that well. But he did have 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground. And so even though this is not a player that is, substantially increasing the passing game to the point that I think some Iowa fans were wanting him to, he has at least added the portion of his legs to this game as well, which I think is going to be huge. Now, I should say Jazz Patterson is out for this game. Kirk Ferentz announced that. Looks like Seth Anderson is questionable. I didn't see any for sure news on him. And then Ostrenga, the tight end, he's still out for the season. So you're still down the one tight end there. So, but Zach, did you know Iowa is actually a higher rated team according to FEI than Illinois is?
That's not surprising to me.
Not surprising to you? Okay.
I thought you were about to say they were higher rated than Indiana, and I'm like, throw the whole thing out. But
no, FEI I believe has Indiana, Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State, and USC is either top 10 or fringe top 10 in FEI. So 5 teams from the Big Ten. Pretty good, I think.
There we go.
But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like the combination of Iowa and Illinois, and the idea that Iowa possibly better than Illinois this season. You and I were on the Illinois train, but obviously that game did not go, inspire a whole bunch of confidence in a lot of people. That obviously could bring them down. But I mean, do you think this Iowa team is possibly better than Illinois? I mean, it's obviously a road game for Indiana, so it's more difficult in that area. But
I'm not sure I'm ready to say that they're a better team, but I do think they're a better matchup because of the lines of scrimmage.
mhm.
We saw Illinois struggle on the offensive line against against Duke. We saw them obviously just get hammered by the Hoosiers last week. I don't think you're going to see that level of dominance against Iowa's offensive line. It's a really strong unit. It's a top 5, maybe a top 3 unit in the conference. So I think again, both lines of scrimmage are I think markedly better. Particularly, I think the offensive line over is more uh, excellent than Illinois could be. So I'm curious about what it's going to look like for the Hoosiers on defense. I know we make fun of Iowa's offense all the time, but this actually might be a better matchup, uh, a harder matchup, I should say, for Indiana than Illinois was.
I agree. I agree. I got the stat here, so I want to correct my stat I tried to give earlier and failed miserably at. So this one comes from the Hawkeye Report. Let's see who wrote this. I want to make sure I give them credit for the stat. Kyle Huesman, Huesmann, Hausman, how you pronounce that?
Mm.
As you all know, I'm terrible with names. The stat is over the last 25 years, 32 ranked teams have visited Kinnick Stadium. Just 3 have won by 10 or more points. 2000 Ohio State, 2006 Ohio State, 2022 Michigan, while 8 top 10 teams have lost in Iowa City during that span. Kirk Ferentz knows how to get his team ready for these games. All right, so I got the stat correct. Just make sure I did that. Zach, there's another aspect of this game that I think we also need to be thinking about, especially when comparing it to the Ohio State game last year. Ohio State, obviously, that game, um, Indiana really struggled with Curtis Rourke being, sitting in the pocket, not really having much mobility. As we learned later on, he tore his ACL. Fernando Mendoza has more mobility than Curtis Rourke did, and I think the RPO game in this one is going to be very, very important for Indiana, especially if that defensive line starts coming after Fernando Mendoza and really giving him fits. If Indiana can start accomplishing the RPO game at a high level, not that they haven't been already, obviously have been, but if that can be done at a high level against Iowa, that could completely nullify this Iowa pass rush and give Indiana even more of an advantage.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe the key to the game is I think if Indiana can find ways to nullify the pass rush and be able to do like RPO all game long, this is gonna be a long day for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, Zach, let's get to predictions here. Or any players or anything you want to mention? Anything else before we get to predictions?
I am curious how Mark Gronowski performs against what I think is a very good defense, but I know Jazz Patterson's out. I think the Hawkeyes will have some success on the ground, and I think Gronowski. I'm curious to see how Gronowski performs against. I think what's probably the best defense he's faced to date, and I don't think that's really saying much, but Indiana's legit defensively, so I am curious about how he does. I do expect them to have at least some semblance of a run game against the Hoosiers. I I think I see this a little closer. I still have Indiana covering. I think it is a cover, but I do think there is reason to caution Indiana fans that this one may not. I would say it probably will not look like it did last week. It's on the road. It's at Kinnick. To your point, Kinnick's a really tough place to play. And I think Iowa will be able to junk things up just enough where it looks a little clunky. And I actually wouldn't be surprised to see some people kind of question Indiana afterwards and say, oh, we jumped on board too quickly. No, Don't do that if it looks a little clunky. I've got 34-24 Indiana.
Hmm. I do not think that is a bad prediction at all. I think obviously Kinnick Stadium could be a very tough place, and the offensive line, the defensive line for Iowa is something you cannot overlook. I do think sometimes people will look at the past, Mark Gronowski, and kind of get too enamored with that and don't look at the whole package of the line of scrimmage and everything else that there is. So I hear you, and while I see what you're saying, this Indiana team doesn't do anything but blow people out. I mean, they last year they were close to against Michigan. They lost to Ohio State and they lost to Notre Dame. Everybody else they blew out, right? I mean, other than the first
Mm-hmm.
game of the season against FIU, and that was 31-7, and this season against Old Dominion, the first game of the season, they don't do anything but blow everybody out. Now, I do believe this Iowa team is better than the Illinois team that Indiana faced last weekend, so I'm not going to predict it to be 63-10, just because of the injuries and everything else that Illinois had going on. I think Illinois at full strength is still a better team than this Iowa team. That's just me personally. However, I think that eventually Indiana gets away with it. They start kind of running away a little bit more, and it just digs Iowa into a deeper and deeper hole. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful with this prediction, but listen, I have doubted Indiana too many times and not picked them to blow a team out too many times. I'm gonna pick a blowout here, 45-17 Indiana.
You know what's crazy with that pick?
What?
We both still have Indiana covering, and we both still have the over.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how this one is at 48.5 over
Well,
under. I mean,
I think Iowa's defense. I think Iowa. Period. Because
I mean, yeah, but like it's not like I was against Iowa State. It was right. It was a phenomenal defense in that game, and I'm not saying it wasn't phenomenal against Rutgers, but that was one where they had to adjust. And Rutgers in the second half, they were phenomenal then. But the first half, Rutgers had their number in that one.
yeah,
So I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Rutgers, but if Rutgers can move the ball on you, I have a
that
pretty good feeling that Indiana's going to be able to move the ball on you
yeah
pretty fine. And then
yeah
you add in special teams and Iowa scoring off of that. This isn't gonna be a 48-0 game where it stays under. Iowa's gonna have special teams, and I mean the other thing we didn't mention, Indiana. I'm pretty sure their second string punter is playing in this one. What happened last year against Ohio State? The punter punted it to the wrong side of the field, and that's how Caleb Downs was able to get the punt return. I mean, if your second string punter is out there, you might have a similar issue. Now, I think he's been out there for most of the season so far. I think in the opener, the first string punter got hurt. So it's not like
mm,
he's new for this one, but still, there's a reason why he wasn't the starter.
yep.
So we'll see. All right, those are our predictions. Want to say hello to Blue Wolverine. We appreciate you being here, Blue Wolverine. Terry, similar to my prediction, he says 41, not 4. Indiana 41-13. Thanks, Terry. Steely Matt is reposting the stream. Thank you for that, Steely Matt. And PK is here. Says IU by 4 scores. All right, I don't. Is that what I
That's
had
what
too
you
by
have.
4 scores? Yep. All
You,
right, you and I are together, PK. And then Sunshine Design says the run pass option may just humiliate Iowa or simply overpower Iowa, but Indiana wins if they steamroll Iowa. Look out, Big Ten. Yeah, if my prediction ends up being correct and they steamroll Iowa on the road, you can't just keep saying every team that Iowa faces or that Indiana faces is bad, right? Like you
Mhm.
can't just keep saying like, oh, this team's terrible. Eventually somebody's gonna have to give Indiana credit. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll
Yep.
see.